What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 8th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday game day edition of the podcast. Game 3 NLDS this evening, 5:08 p.m. And it is Tuesday, so it's time for a little motivation / positivity. And we certainly need some positivity, specifically around the Phils. So I switched it up a little bit, and we're going to go with the ultimate positivity motivation song, and that is High Hopes by Frank Sinatra. If you've ever been to a Phillies game, you know they played at the end the rendition of Harry Callis singing it. It was something he used to sing in the locker room when they were all hanging out. It's one of my favorite parts about being at a Phillies game. But truly, there is a good message in there, and we really only hear the first part of the lyrics that Harry sings, and that's about that silly old ant trying to move that rubber tree plant. And the meaning of the song, truthfully, is anything is possible, no matter how hard you think it's going to be. There's always the possibility, if you put your mind to it, get your mind right, set out, focus, and do it, you're going to be able to do it. But that silly old ant did move that rubber tree plant, as Harry Callis said, because he had high hopes, and we have high hopes for our team. So the message is, obviously, it's a little tongue-in-cheek today, getting ready for the Phillies Mets, but I think the message is great, that you just dream big and really work toward achieving that goal, like that silly old ant. And then if you go into the next part of the song, it talks about the silly old ram who tried to punch a hole in the dam. Like I said, very simplistic lyrics, but the message is very, very profound and strong. And we certainly need some high hopes for the Phillies today. So in the immortal words of Harry Callis, by way, or I guess the immortal words of Frank Sinatra, by way of Harry Callis, we got high hopes, like that silly old ant who tried to move that rubber tree plant. And if you've listened to the song and you know what they do at the end of the game, you know, whoop, there goes another rubber tree. So let's go, Phils. We got high hopes today. Hopefully that message, think about that silly ant and that silly old ram as you go through your weeks. Set your goals high, work hard to achieve them, have the high hopes, and believe that you can do it, just like we're going to believe today that the Phillies are going to take a 2-1 lead in this series behind Aaron Nola. But do that through your week, and just know that we got high hopes, man. High hopes. So let's get to it and be like that silly old ant and move that rubber tree plant today. All right, it's game 3. Playoff Nola is on the mound, and we certainly are going to need playoff Nola today. And he's going up against Sean Manaea, and I think Manaea's been hot, but I think the Phillies can hit him. I just don't know. I don't know. I guess since he's a lefty, Phils seem to do better against lefties. Not sure what Topper is going to do with the lineup tonight. Bohm is going to be back in the lineup. I have a feeling that we're going to see Austin Hayes in left, keeping Brandon Marsh on the bench. I think after his game the other day, Stott will get the start at second. And I think maybe a little bit of that is how Edmundo Sosa played. But we'll see. I mean, it's still up in the air on what they're going to do. Ranger Suarez will go tomorrow. So, I don't want to sound scared, because I'm thinking about this as the words are getting ready to come out of my mouth, and it's going to sound scared. But I think we need a strong performance from Nola tonight, not only to take that 2-1 lead, but also to not tax the bullpen, because I know we've had Ranger Suarez struggle at his last start of the season the past 2 years, and then he's come out and been money in the playoffs. But you don't want to put yourself in that position. Have Nola come out, go 6, 7, 8 innings tonight. Worry about the pitch count to a certain point, but if he's dealing, let him deal and rest that bullpen. I think we're going to see an offensive explosion from this team, and I don't know why. There's no real I'm not basing it on anything other than I think something clicked, like the light bulb went off for this team the other night, and I'm looking for them to continue that, to be patient. And it's going to be a hostile environment. So I think they need to really come out and know that between the Mets and the fans, they're going to get punched. And it's about how, as Rocky said, we're going to do a little double dip, I guess, for the Tuesday motivation. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep coming back. That team proved it the other night, and that's what they're going to need to do. And it'd be nothing better than to come out and have a long top of the first, get a couple runs across, quiet that crowd down a little bit. This is the Mets' first home playoff game this year, and that crowd's going to be wild. So I'm hoping that maybe if we can jump on them early, the players are going to get a little antsy. They're going to be trying to maybe press a little bit. So I think the first 3 innings, the Phillies need to come out and score some runs and really keep the pressure on the Mets. I mean, obviously we know they're up for the pressure, but I think that's going to be the key. But it's a huge game, and I cannot wait. But that leads us right into a recap of yesterday's question today. I asked you yesterday, after the Sunday's come from behind win, are the Phillies back? 80% of you said yes, they are. I really do agree. And again, this is likely me drinking the red Kool-Aid, not necessarily putting any stock, but this team is a better team than the Mets. This team has more to play for. There's more at stake for this team. We have the experience. I would love to see them go out there and just have one of those just methodical 8-2 ball games where they just put the pressure on, play good defense, let the pitchers do what they do, and kind of a no sweat. I feel like after the past 2 games, my blood pressure needs the rest anyway. That's what I mean. But I can see that. We just need one of those games, almost like the Victorino Grand Slam game or the Joe Blanton home run game where they're just pouring it on. But that is tonight at 5:08. Question of the day. Who do you got tonight? Phillies, Mets. This is the pivotal game of the series. Likely whoever wins this game is going to win the series. So who do you got? Phillies, Mets, 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Want to vent, want to rant, want to talk about the Sixers preseason, get ready for Flyers, talk about the Eagles coming up. All of that is fair game. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. But who do you got? Phillies, Mets. I'm going Phillies, and I like them on the run line tonight. I just have a feeling that, like I said, something clicked. And when this team is rolling, there's nobody that can beat them. And I think we're going to see that tonight. A couple quick notes about this game. I meant to mention this the other day, but through the excitement and everything from that come from behind, and usually I'm on the opposite end of this, but I have to say I've thought that the announcing crew of Adam Amill, Adam Wainwright, and AJ Pierzynski, they've been pretty good. I know like Smoltz gets a little annoying when they have the A team for Fox Sports, but I think these guys have done a pretty good job of keeping it down the middle, objective. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, they hate the Phillies. They've done a pretty good job keeping it down the middle. And I mean, I think the fact that they haven't been the story just to me shows how good they've been. Obviously, it's not T-Mac and Crucker, but I mean, I wanted to give them credit because I think they've done a decent job for this series so far. The other note I wanted to put out there, and say what you want about him, we would have had the 1 seed if it wasn't for him. He struggled, but I got to give credit where credit is due for Taijuan Walker. He's always had his spot on the top of the dugout steps, and even though he's not even on the roster right now, he's still there in the dugout supporting his team, and it would have been very easy for him to just pack it in, get pissed off, and pout. But, I mean, I've seen a couple stories about this, and I think that's a testament to the guy as a teammate and as a person. I mean, yeah, it wasn't easy for him this year. He certainly sucked. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But for him to be out there still supporting his teammates, I think in the spirit of being fair and giving both sides, got to give the guy credit for doing what he can to support his teammates. Shout out to you, Taijuan Walker. I hope I don't see you on the mound. You can stay right there on the top step of the dugout. But in all seriousness, though, I think that's a pretty cool thing for him to come out and support his teammates. Philly Goat has got you covered for your Red October needs. The The fans are back. I'm wearing them right now. They're super comfy. They got any kind of shirt you can imagine. Election season is coming up as well. They have the voting shirt, which I got all kinds of comments on that at baseball the other day. They have the T-Mac Kruk yard signs and everything, which the more I think about it, I've been talking to people. Somebody actually stole my Wu-Tang sign to put in their yard, which is absolutely ridiculous. So if I see it, I'm taking it back. So be on the lookout. But anyway, I digress. Philly, go there. Get your Red October gear. Get geared up because we are going to win this series. We are going to go deep into the playoffs. So now's the time to order. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. All right. We can officially now, Monday Night Football happened last night. Suffered a half a point loss in my fantasy. A must-win game. My team's now 1-4. I lost by a half a point. But Monday Night Football is over, so it is time to look ahead. The bye week is over. We have the Browns, and currently the Eagles are sitting at a 9-point favorite. The over-under's at 43. The Browns just have not been good. Not been good at all. And, I mean, this should be a get-right spot for the Eagles. A.J. Brown will be back. Devontae likely will be back. Lane will likely be back. So you're going to be pretty much at full strength for this game. And for the offense and the defense, really, this is a get-right spot. We'll get more into this game as the week progresses. But, I mean, coming out of the bye, the next 4 games, you got the Browns, Giants, Bengals, and Jags. And doesn't seem on paper the way things have been going, although the Giants didn't look terrible against the Seahawks this past weekend. The Bengals looked better against the Ravens, but they choked it at the end. And the Jags, you got Dougie P playing for his job. This seems like a manageable stretch of games coming out of the bye to sort of figure some things out, get things right. And like I said, if they put the work in during the bye week, if they come out and lose to the Browns or look unprepared against the Browns, yikes, is all I have to say about that. So we'll have more on this game as we go. Cannot wait to get down there. It's a 1 o'clock game. Don't have too many of them this year. It's the best time as an older man to go down to an Eagles game. Can be home in time, still be in bed early, eat dinner, and you're good to go. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. 2 new episodes dropping this week for baseball and football. Basketball should be right around the corner as they're gearing up for this season as well. That is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Good guys over there. A lot of fun. Always have a good time when I hop on with them. Speaking of basketball, Sixers opened up the preseason against the New Zealand Breakers last night. And obviously they won, but some takeaways were that Tyrese Maxey looked incredible in the first quarter. Andre Drummond was chucking up threes, which apparently is something he's been working on and is pretty good at. So that's like one of those random little tidbits that you don't want to see all the time, but know that if it comes down to it, he's going to take an open J if he has it. Jarrett McCain played well, had a great ovation from the crowd last night. Overall, the Sixers shot very well from three-point range, and I think, to me, the biggest takeaway just from the highlights and things that I was seeing is that the pace of play was much faster than what we've seen, and Nick Nurse acknowledged that in the post-game press conference, that they're trying to play fast, get a lot of outlet, fast break points, and I think as athletic as this team is, that's a good way to play, and that really will help some of the jump shooters. And I think from a fast break perspective, as long as it's not Joe out there leading the break, that should help with his health concerns as well. But a good start to the preseason for the Sixers. I don't know. I didn't check the schedule to see if they have another game against a team like that. But I'm pretty sure they play on Friday night as well down at the Wells Fargo Center. Flyers kick off on the puck drops on the season, as the sportscasters like to say, on Friday out in Vancouver. We will do our Flyers season preview on Friday. I will also give you a season-long bet that I've been kind of researching and looking back and forth on, that I bet myself that I really, really like. keep you kind of engaged with the Flyers this season. So stay tuned for that on Friday morning on this day in Philly sports history. All right, today we're going to go back to 1989. And on this day in 1989, Eagles beat the Giants 21-19 at the Vet. It was a defensive battle pretty much from this jump. The Giants suffered their first loss of the season. The Eagles improved to 3-2. But that defense for the Eagles pretty much held Phil Simms in check, sacked him 5 times. He threw an interception, did not pass for a touchdown. Reggie White led the way with 2 of those sacks. But the Eagles, to their credit, couldn't get much going through the air. Randall was only 10 for 24 for 106 yards, but the Eagles did manage to pound out 158 rushing yards that day against the Giants for 3 touchdowns, 2 of them by Randall, including a 5-yarder, which to me is one of the most, you think about Randall Cunningham's iconic plays, and immediately 3 come to mind. You have the Carl Banks when he somehow did not get hit and still threw the touchdown to Jimmy Giles. You have the 95-yard punt against, or 91-yard punt, whatever it was, against the Bills. You also have the one long bomb to Fred Barnett. And then you have this play on this 5-yard touchdown when the Eagles spread it out. He had a lane up the middle, ran it, went to jump over 2 Giants defenders, got flipped, and fell on his arm and head. Miraculously, did not get hurt. I watched the replay about 50 times last night, and Pat Summerall kept saying, he's lucky he didn't break his neck or his arm. And John Madden was all about breaking down the play and why he was able to score. But to me, it's up there, top 3 probably iconic Randall Cunningham plays. Like I said, you got the Carl Banks, and then you have the flip. Those are the 2 that really stick out. And then you can do the long bomb to Fred Barnett where he ducked under Bruce Smith, or the punt. But on this day in 1989, Eagles beat the Giants 21-19. Randall with one of the most iconic plays in his illustrious career when he went to hurdle 2 Giant defenders, got flipped, landed on his head in the end zone for a touchdown. Eagles did go on to win the game 21-19. That 89 season, they went 11-5, made the wild card before losing to the Rams. All right, we have high hopes today. We're going to continue our Red October great games in Phillies history, Phillies postseason history, I should say. And one of my all-time favorite games, probably top 3 moments ever going to a live sporting event for me. I was in the crowd for this game, and that's Game 4 of the 2009 NLCS. Phillies led the series 2-1 at that point. They had just beaten the Dodgers 11-0. I remember I was not feeling too well, but it was like I'm not missing this game at all. And it looked like the game was going to go more of the same that day. Ryan Howard hit a 2-run shot in the first inning. Tying, ironically enough, this was actually pretty cool, and I forgot about this until I was doing the research, tied Lou Gehrig for consecutive postseason games with an RBI with 8. It would end the next night. So the most consecutive games with a postseason RBI, you have Ryan Howard and Lou Gehrig. Pretty good company for Ryan to be in, and to me, just goes back. I'm going to do my, whenever I can, plug for Ryan Howard of how he's unappreciated. Just goes to show you just how great this dude was before he got injured. But back to the game. Dodgers tied it up in the 4th, tacked on runs in the 5th and the 6th. Chase Utley had an RBI single in the 8th, so it went to the bottom of the 9th with the Dodgers leading 4-3. And they had Jonathan Broxton, who was their closer, was trying for the 4-out save. He was an all-star that year and had 36 saves. He was just basically unhittable that year. Immediately got Raul Ibanez to ground out. Then he walked Matt Stairs, hit Carlos Ruiz, and then all of a sudden we felt like we had life. And those teams back then, specifically the 08-09 teams, you could never count them out of games. Greg Dobbs lined out, so it brought up Jimmy Rollins with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, 2 men on. Eric Bruntlett had pinch ran for Matt Stairs. You had Chooch on first. Jimmy Rollins takes the 1-1 pitch, lines it to right center, scored Bruntlett, scored Chooch. The Phillies walk it off to take a commanding 3-1 lead in the NLCS. They came back the next day, won it 10-4, and would go back to the World Series for the second straight year. I remember just the scene was just ridiculous in that stadium. It's one of the loudest I have ever seen Citizens Bank Park, because it was just, you didn't know what to expect, and Jimmy Rollins just stepped up, and when he hit that ball, it was just perfect placement. Crowd went nuts. You saw the memes that and the videos that they synced it up to the scene from Goodfellas with Ray Liotta in the shower going, "F yeah, Jimmy." That's like the entire 40 whatever thousand people were saying, "Yeah, Jimmy." So one of the greatest moments, greatest sporting events I've ever been to was Game 4 of the 2000 NLCS. Hopefully the Phillies have some of that magic tonight against the Mets. But that is our Red October great game in Phillies postseason history. Jimmy Rollins walks it off in the bottom of the ninth with a 2-run. I guess it technically was a double, because I guess he had to keep running to make sure Chooch scored. But either way, Phillies walk it off, take a 3-1 lead, win it the next night, and will go back to the World Series for the second straight year. On this day in 1989, Eagles beat the Giants 21-19. Randall Cunningham with 2 rushing touchdowns, including one of his most iconic plays ever, the hurdle flip into the end zone, lands on his head, but scores the touchdown. And somehow, I watched the replay, like I said, 50 times. I don't know how he didn't get hurt. I mean, if you want to see it for yourself and you want to just relive and go back down Eagles memory lane, look up Randall Cunningham touchdown flip versus the Giants. It comes up, and like I said, I don't know how he didn't get hurt. Don't know how he got hurt. Stay tuned for the Flyers preview on Friday. I will give you the season-long bet that I am betting, which will help us stay invested in the Flyers this year, which it should be an exciting year for them. I cannot wait. I'm even more geared up like Charlie Brown, ready to kick that football after reading about the Sixers last night. And yes, I know. You don't need to remind me. I know how it's going to end. Phil's Mets tonight, though. 5:08. Let me know who you got. Phillies Mets, 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get anything Philly sports related off your chest. And remember, it is Tuesday, our motivation for the day. Remember that silly old ant from the High Hopes song, because we have high hopes, but the message in the song, in all seriousness, is a good one. Have high hopes for yourself, dream big, and work hard to get there, because nobody thought that ant was going to move the rubber tree plant, but yet, there goes another rubber tree plant. So we got high hopes. Let's do it for Harry. Let's come back tomorrow celebrating a 2-1 lead, getting ready to end this series. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 8th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday, and until next time, go Phils.